bunch of, because he believed the press out there that a whole bunch of people are saying that he should run. Now, I don't think this would have entered his mind if the lamestream media hadn't put it there for him. Because, he said a few things and all of a sudden, he's on the national stage. This would not have entered his mind prior to his, a couple of statements that were picked up by the lamestream media. It wouldn't have. But he's heard the call. So that's a step towards statesmanship. He's heard the call from people, constituents, who want him to run. And there are people out there that seriously want him to win. Now, whether or not I believe that he's the best we have that's running right now for president, that's left to be seen. The problem I have with Dr. Carson is that as a leader, a world leader, and he, president of the United States is a world leader. I think he speaks too softly. He really does. Now, I'm not saying that he can't speak loudly and get angry and upset and throw fits and stuff like that. He's a human being. He's a man. I'm sure he does. But for the general conversation of topic, I think he's too soft spoken. And it sounds like he's either not fully confident of what he's saying, or he's not going to be able to get his point across forcefully to other leaders because he's too soft-spoken. Now, maybe during this campaign that'll change. But if we get into debates, I think that's where you're going to see whether or not Dr. Carson has the chops or not. And I'm not even talking about his platform or his policy beliefs. He's going to have to espouse his policy beliefs. Is he going to be able to do it with such a soft-spoken voice? That's my only concern about Dr. Carson at the moment. Carly Fiorina, there really has not been a lot said about her, which is really kind of strange. She's kind of like the dark horse, and not in a bad way. She's kind of the dark horse because there hasn't been a lot of arrows slung at her yet. There have been a few, and Hillary Clinton has tried to launch a few arrows at Carly, and I don't think they're going to stick because Hillary's got her own problems. But she's entered the race, and she did so, much like Hillary, online, kind of quietly. And it makes me wonder, is she really serious? Is she going to give this everything she's got as a serious contender? Because unlike the Democratic side, we've already got, 3 people, now 4 other people in the race, where the Democrats don't have anybody but Hillary. So is Carly being too, should I say it, too feministic? Is she trying to garner the female vote by imitating what Hillary Clinton did on her announcement? Lord, I hope not. Carly, let me just give you some advice here. Just come out swinging, girl. Just come out swinging. Don't be timid. Look, I just saw today that the Army Ranger, that's an elite force, highly trained military division within the Army. They're now running and testing female recruits. Now, what will those recruits make it through the Ranger training? Because it's extremely tough. We have yet to see. But look, you've got women who are doing trying to do the really hard stuff, some of the hardest things, the toughest thing in the Army. And you want to come out, Carly, being a little bit meek. No, don't be meek. You got to be strong and forceful and let people, you should have had a huge event somewhere. Now, maybe she's covering up because for the fact that she doesn't yet have a humongous following. And if she threw an event, nobody would have showed up and it would have been, probably embarrassing for her. I understand that. Because sometimes it takes a little while for the momentum to get started and build up before people have the huge crowds. And that's just politics. That's just the way it works. Unless you have a huge name to begin with, which means that you probably have been, served in higher office or campaigning starting years ago. Much like Hillary. So, yeah, Carly is, she's not an enigma, but she's a question mark there as well. However, as I have said in the past, I welcome these people because they all 5 candidates on the GOP side right now, they're all far right of the current GOP leadership. So they're far more conservative than, say, a Mitch McConnell or John Bonnier or the like. The blue blood Republican Gentiles, if you will. This current crop, these 5 now, they're much more conservative than the general Republican leadership, which is a good thing, because the more people that you get in with that type of a political and psychological and physical bent and policy bent, the more that conversation is going to stay over there. So even if Jeb Bush gets in, people having to cater to Bush is not going to be easy, because the base is going to be out there, pounding away and wanting more conservative ideas, more conservative than Jeb can honestly give them. Now, the only problem is that if we have too many people who are true conservatives, and here's my fear, is that the vote will be split among them, and then Jeb will win by fiat. But it's not a fait accompli. Obviously there are going to be people who drop out. And those people who drop out because they're just not garnering the support in votes and such will probably, give their push and their support behind one of the other strong conservative candidates. And this is how it's always worked. When a candidate drops out, they give their support to another candidate that they happen to like, or think that it is, the second best to them. But since they didn't get the votes and get their message out, they have to drop out. So they're going to give the next person their support, and hopefully all the people who were going to vote for the candidate that dropped out would then switch their vote to the endorsed candidate. And that's the way it's always worked. That's nothing new, nothing different. It's not out of the ordinary. It's not strange. I know some people talk about, well, see, they're all the same, Rod. It's just they're selling our government back and forth. No. Not necessarily so in this case. This is just what they do. And this is just the way it's always been. So, it's, don't get me wrong. Do not misunderstand me. Just because there are 5 truly conservative people on the GOP side who've entered the race does not mean that Jeb Bush is going to be the nominee, and does not mean as the candidates begin to drop out that they're going to give their support to George Bush. Jeb Bush. I actually believe that will not happen unless Jeb gets to the point where he is, going to be the candidate. Now, if he is fully nominated as a candidate, you will see the others fully back him, of course. But at first, I'm not picking on anybody. Let's just say Dr. Carson drops out first. Dr. Carson will probably, maybe he'll endorse, Ted Cruz. So the hope is that all of Dr. Carson's followers and voters will then give their support and their vote to Ted Cruz. That's how it works. That's what the hope is. Doesn't always work that way, but that's the way, it's intended to work. But I don't see people who are supporting any of these 5 candidates going ahead and then in the primaries supporting Jeb. I don't see that happening. I suppose it's possible, but I highly doubt it. Hey, Bill Clinton Bill Clinton says today that he's defending his foundation and the foreign money that it has taken. Now, Bill Clinton says he has no regrets about taking millions in foreign cash for his foundations, even though the donations have caused a political headache for Hillary as she tries to follow him into the Oval Office. He probably, he's like, oh, I asked Hillary if this was going to be a big problem for her, and she said no. So I said, okay, let's just go ahead and take all this money then. We can take all this money from all these foreign leaders and foreign people and foreign businessmen. And I can say certain things and keep Hillary out of the loop. Hillary didn't know anything about all this stuff. So all that stuff that she did that sort of looks like it was, pay for play type of thing, she didn't know any of it. So it was just by coincidence that all those governments and business people from overseas got some special stuff. It was just coincidence. Maybe it's because me and Kitty, see, that's what I call Hillary, and she doesn't know I call her that. So when I'm trying to be nice, I just call her Kitty. Maybe me and Kitty are kind of linked, psychologically. So she knows what I'm thinking, and I know what she's thinking. So I don't even have to go and ask her to know that she didn't know. But I asked her anyway just to make sure. And I was right. She didn't know anything because she told me she didn't know anything. And Hillary never lies. I try not to lie, but Hillary never lies. And this is you got to understand. We don't take a dime from this. We don't have any windfall profits or dividend income off the foundation. No, all that money is going to charity. Well, yeah, 10%. Well, some of it's going to charity. We got to pay our daughter like a ridiculous amount of money, over $600,000 a year. She's got to be able to afford that $10 million house in Manhattan. That's an expensive house. It's a beautiful home, and I just wanted my grandbaby to grow up in a beautiful home. And she wasn't going to be able to do it on her own, so we had her come work in the foundation, get that $600,000 a year. So it's staying in the family, of course it is. But again, Hillary didn't know a thing because I telepathically I can tell she's telling me the truth that she didn't know a thing, and all that kind of stuff was just a coincidence. Now y'all need to let me get back to the work of the foundation because we didn't take this money. Hillary and I. So I need to get back to doing the work of the foundation. And and Monica isn't around, by the way. I don't know where she is. She's probably, I don't have that blue dress. She said she's going to send it to me, but I never got it. Somebody ought to go tell her about that. So this guy is just amazing. So he's out there trying to tell us, well, he didn't, personally gain anything from the foundation because he's not getting any dividends from the foundation. Well, first of all, there are no dividends. It's not a corporation with stockholders here. This is supposed to be a charity found. Oh yeah, this would be like the magnanimous Ford Foundation. The Ford family members all of a sudden getting a dividend check every year from the Ford. No, the money's given to the foundation. It is no longer your personal property. It's now the property of the foundation. There's nothing more. You're giving it away. Of course, there's not going to be any dividends. So, well, in that sense, the man is not lying, but he's being a slick Willie again. Because he isn't saying unequivocally that he has not personally profited from these foreign donations. And he, Hillary's out there saying, well, there was no influence. What difference does it make at this point? Because, it happened while she was Secretary of State, and she's not Secretary of State anymore. So to her, what difference does it make now? It makes no sense to keep going after her. All that stuff's in the past. She wants to talk about our future. We can't go back to the past. And Bill keeps trying to say, well, yeah, we're an open foundation. We're a transparent foundation. You're not going to find anything bad here. Come on now. Do you really think you're going to find something bad here? Well, I say, yeah. Got a guest coming up next.